I see you wanting to be brave enough to share the real you with your community members, but those sneaky doubts are sliding into your mind and having you wondering if you do share, will everyone run away and hide? I mean, everyone else on the internet and social media looks so put together, right? What will happen if you show your messy and not so put together behind the scenes self? Are your insides crawling with nerves at the very thought of it? Well, Starbeam, keep listening because today's episode is all for you. I'm going to walk you through how you can live and share your full human experience, whatever that means to you, by going on a soulful quest to deepen your relationship with your voice, your devoted way. Let's do this. Welcome to the Devoted Way podcast, all about magic and miracles with me, Sora Schilling. It's time to hone in on your intuition, become artful, respectful, and nuanced with your relationship with energy, and live life based on your design. Your unique blueprint encoded with stardust from the ethereal realm and blood from those that have come before you. You know what to do and how to be, so trust in yourself. Okay, how often do we find that as coaches, we are stepping to the space of leadership, and AKA that often what we were programmed to understand about that is that we've got our shit together and that we know everything and that we come in super composed and nothing ruffles us and we're constantly doing the inner work and therefore we can show up and be really, really potent in our medicine without anything else bothering us. And that is what we have to show, like forward facing. And I find that to be really limiting. And at the same time, understand that it comes from a lot of conditioning around how we are expected to show up, not necessarily because other people tell us this, but because what we are seeing, right? And so when we look on social media, we often see some beautiful photos and we see well-crafted images everywhere. And then we will see that there are underneath it in the post, either some really beautiful reflection around how life is amazing, or some really intimate, vulnerable reflections, actually. But at the same time, even though that's being modeled, there is still this programming inside of us that we have no right to actually share in that way. That those people over there has this incredible, fierce, like courageous way of doing so, but we can't do that. Especially when you are either actually in all stages, whether you're beginning your business and people are still getting to know you, or you're in the midst of your business already and you're thinking, oh, these people are not going to continue joining me if they don't realize that I don't have my stuff together, or you're really doing well and you're wondering, okay, I'm doing so well. I'm at the height and the pinnacle area of my career. And to say that everything is falling apart, what if that makes it do so even further, right? So really honoring that. So I believe there are a couple of steps in honoring how do you show up and be honest as to who you are without having to constantly, let's say, throw into the field everything that is happening and oversharing. So for me, the place in this is around getting more clear around the exploration of your voice and how you share. So to me, that's before you even go into what does your post feel like or how do you write your newsletter. To me, it's actually about coming into a sacred space inside of a coven space, inside of a group where you feel that you can be held, where you exercise the muscle of navigating what do I actually desire to share today and what feels really uncomfortable to share. How much do I share? How much of it still needs to come within me that I need to percolate? What support do I need? How can I be an advocate of what it is that I desire in the space? And playing in that way. Because the more we come together and start having sacred conversations, the more we can actually translate that into how we write something. Because I believe the way we write our newsletters, the way we communicate with our community should be more as if we were talking to an actual person, right? It's not writing this amazing paper that would be a type A plus paper that you've written that your professor would be like, that's so amazing, right? And so therefore that dialogue actually needs to happen in person. Why? Because when you start doing that vulnerably, you find your rhythm, you find how much you are not sharing, you find how much you're overly sharing because you want someone else to save you or witness you or give you like the love and support, and how much you're doing it because you actively believe that you are here to share, and it feels really, really good to do so in a very sovereign way. So once that's happened, then you begin to write. To me, I believe it's about writing emails before even posts. And the reason being is that when you start regularly writing emails, you can play with the different types of emails and voice that might come through. And so I love playing with different ones. So, for example, often I will sit down and I will write an email based on a small little thing that has happened in my life, right? It can be the smallest little thing. And then, or the funniest thing that has happened in the past week, or the thing that I've been enjoying or not enjoying, like whatever it is. And so I actually write that first. I write it, I write it, I write it. I have a really good time. I think about the memes that are going to go with it and all of that stuff. And then in the midst of that writing, I always consider, what is the thing that I'm learning from this experience? Why? Because as energy coaches, the one thing we always do is we look at life from a meta standpoint. We look at the cosmic joke and we say, what do I need to know from this? What am I learning from this? Right? What's the through line? What's the new initiation? How does this connect with this? Everything always connects. So I'm always looking to see, what does that look like? And so by doing so, I always do see a through line. I see some sort of message that is for me. Okay, so I'm going to say that boldly. A message and a lesson that is for me, not for my clients, because I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to be like, oh, I know everything, so therefore I'm going to share with you the things that you should know, because I'm not here to be on my soapbox. I'm here to share me as a human being, loving all the things that I do and showing up in a way that feels true for people to actually get to know me, because that's one way for them to get to know me without getting all access of me, right? No one's going to be sitting here living with me 24 hours a day. So they don't know everything except what they may see just flatly on a piece of paper or on a website or just via a post. So a newsletter helps supports deepening and enriching that experience. So once then I find that lesson, I then share that lesson and then I bring it back to them. How may my lesson of my humanness support them? How do me sharing something that has happened with me invite them the opportunity to also witness their humanness or their divinity or their challenge or their greatness? And then we weave that in all together. And then at the end, the last part that I love to exercise, because those of you that might be listening are entrepreneurs, you are small business owners. So the thing I love to do is at the end, having some sort of call to action. Why? Because it's a way for me to also open myself up and invite people into continuing a journey with me, whether that's continuing with the newsletter or inviting for a discovery call for Devoted Energy Coaching School or for something. So by doing that step and doing that regularly, if you even do that once a week for the next 90 days, you will find that there is a complete shift in how you relate to your writing and to your voice. And by doing so, then you pull that information from that to write your posts and then do also the posts that you desire each day. And it will feel much more dynamic. Right. Therefore, for your socials, there could be some that's a bit more formulaic, right? There's some that might be mostly about like your grid and all of that. And then there's others that will be coming from that soulful place that has to do with you and your humanness. To me, that honors more around how you show up. Why? Because the caveat is the thing that I noticed for myself until probably about a year ago when I was going through some major transitions and also really honoring that I was feeling a lot of pain that not many of my closest community members were doing the inner work. And so, especially around racism. And so I realized that when I felt this rage or this concern or this celebration or anything, I was posting to get a reaction. And I don't believe I need to post to get a reaction anymore. For me, that's not my medicine. For some, it is, right? For some, you are disruptors. You posting in that way is part of your medicine. I am not a disruptor in that way. And I was doing it to like basically burst open the inner pain that I was having and to call forth people to validate me. And I don't need that. That's not part of me. And so now when I consider socials, I come from a standpoint of what would feed my soul, what feels really true aligned with me, especially with my archetypal energies, including as a warrior. But what does that actually mean my way? And how do I show up with an openness to, yeah, pierce sometimes, but not cut down anyone else, right? So I share that as my personal experience. But for each of you, when you think of socials, you will latch on to a particular thing. There's a reason that you post some things, and there's a reason that you want something from those that are reading it. So here's where you get to clean that up. And the way you clean that up is learning your voice. So I hope that kind of supports in regards to understanding how do you go through life with the challenges you have? How do you honor your own wisdom, but without preaching it? You do so by being vulnerable with your own inner circle of beings that you trust, learning to navigate the realness of you, then going ahead and writing on a consistent basis to see what that means and how do you show up for your community. And then go ahead and then reach out into your socials and amplify the wisdom that is already you. It is a blessing to serve you. My deepest desire is to bring nourishment to your soul, activate and enliven your inner landscape, and find inspiration through the sacred stories of others and myself so we remember we are collectively woven. If you would like to learn more about mysticism, spiritual devotion, magic and intuition, sacred leadership, business practices, and devoted energy coaching, please make sure you subscribe to Devoted Way podcast. As I continue to serve, may I humbly ask for a sacred exchange. I would be so appreciative if you would write a love note, otherwise known as a review. Share the episode with your friends and community members, and engage with me on Instagram at Devoted Way. If you have any questions you desire to be answered on Devoted Way podcast, please head over to devotedway.com and send me an email. Stay sacred and discover your path and join the Devoted Way. May magic and miracles occur in your life every day as you co-create a synchronistic new world with the Great Mother. Until next time, this is Sora Schilling.